And because it was loaded with energy, now there's more there for the entire web going from the bottom up, like the root microbiome and mycorrhizal networks, which all work together, as you know, were then able to more, effectively draw out some of those energies at the molecular scale, because that's where they live. They're close to the molecular scale. And then the plant was able to take the larger products of that, these different compounds and chemicals and stuff, and then feed it up and nutrients into the plant body, and then the plant's happy, or whatever it is. So that would be kind of my thoughts on that. I think it's really interesting.
You definitely
makes sense.
Yeah, you definitely filled a hole I did not know before. And the fact that, again, this was organic matter, so it was compost. There was no sand, silt, or clay in it. Ironically, throughout this process, I generate sand and clay through what's called biogeochemical reactions or remineralization. So even though I'm putting in 100% plant matter, when I get done, I get a lot of sand, and then I get these nano clay particles and nano sand particles after the vibration process. I mean, super, super fine. But the organic matter itself is a cation exchange site, both positive and negative, and absorbs that water. So the water's the magnet, but it's being absorbed into the organic matter, which is holding it in place and attracting those ion minerals that were broken apart during this biogeochemical, physical, vibrating activity. So that's cool, dude. I never thought of that before. That it was actually, I was charging the water more than I was charging the particulate itself, the cation exchange sites.
That always makes sense to me, because you're vibrating the water and they're going to be moving. It's a liquid. Yep. So they're going to be moving past each other easily, and that's going to create all these static electromagnetic potentials that build and then get moved and stored in various ways. And water is really kind of the key, and something that I want to do more research into and also more videos on. I talk about all this stuff on my channel. For anyone that's watching, you can just go to @Stefan Burns on YouTube. But regardless, the interesting thing about water, there it is. The interesting thing about water too is that it's like, I think sometimes we forget to think of the relative sizing of molecules. And so we think DNA, like a lot of people think DNA is like the smallest part of our body. It's actually a pretty big molecule. I mean, there's all these base pairs, which are made up of different amino acids. Amino acids, of course, are made up of various elements like hydrogen, nitrogen, whatever. So they're big. And then they're wound, and the chromosomes, they're big things. And then our cells, of course, are much larger. Water molecules fit into and hydrate every single bit of DNA. They hold, in many ways, they're responsible for holding DNA structure together. Or like collagen fibers, DNA hydrates around collagen proteins. So you honestly have more water than you have, you have a lot more water than you have collagen or DNA or any of this stuff. I did a talk with Dr. Gerald Pollack.
We love it. Big fan.
Yeah, that's one of the ones I watched. I watched 2 of your episodes. That's right. I remember now. And that's why I thought to reach out to him, because I saw him on here. I was like, well, you probably jump on mine too. And I didn't know this until we talked, is that the latest, research shows that by molecular count, water is 99 out of 100. So for every molecule in your body, not volume, every molecule in your body, one of them will be like, a sugar or DNA protein, whatever, right? And 99 will be water. So they hydrate and fill in and surround everything. And they are the great mediator for this electromagnetic energy, because they themselves are these little magnets that reorient and combine together these hydrogen bonds and these larger coherency domains. They hold on to electromagnetic energy. And DNA, for example, is highly conductive. So magnetic fields can pass through the cell membrane, which has that electric potential. So electric fields don't pierce through that easily, but a magnetic field can pierce right through it, hit a DNA molecule, and where you have a magnetic field interacting with something conductive, you get an electric current that forms as a result. And likewise, when you have an electric current, that creates a magnetic field. So they interact together. So then to take that back to photons is kind of another level of like analysis and everything. Like, how is a photon actually mediating that? But what these magnetic fields, like the Schumann resonances, are doing is they're inducing electric currents in DNA. Any little free electrons that are floating around in DNA, the base pairs, whatever, they can then move around, and that can change how DNA actually expresses itself, because where you have these electrons, that changes the vibration of the DNA itself, and that vibratory essence and charge. This seems to be the case. So much we're going to learn, right? But yeah, I just want to be very clear with that. This vibratory essence and that charge localization within DNA is then what attracts different transcription proteins and like mRNA messenger, and like what part of the DNA is then being transcribed and turned into a protein and everything. So these fields that we mesh ourselves in are regulating gene expression. That research is very clear when it comes to pulse electromagnetic fields. They see that consistently, study by study, gene expression changes with pulse electromagnetic field therapy. So you're literally changing your blueprint, like how it expresses itself when you use those types of modalities. But water is also doing the same thing. Because it has this electromagnetic structure, it is also interacting with these energies of our environment. And so I think just what my intuition's telling me about what you discovered with your kinematic separators is that you were creating greater electromagnetic potentials in these mediums. And so they were also probably able to better absorb the natural energies of your environment. And they just became more like vital. You were able to transfer energy from, let's say, a diesel generator. I'm not sure how you vibrated them, and bake that into whatever these soils and organics were.
So,
and the plants love that.
A real interesting study. A gentleman, a German or Russian physicist, went to a part of Venezuela where they have those unexplored mountaintops in the jungle, and the water comes down off the mountaintop. The local indigenous call it the mother of all waters. And he and his team hypothesized that this water would have more energy by the magnitude of, say, 2 to 10 than water that we have in other parts of the world that have been exposed to humanity, for lack of better words, right? They found it had the magnitude of 100 or 1,000. I got to find this thing again. 100,000 more magnitude of energy than the water that we have around us. So this is going back to the same thing that you're talking about, is that this is like, it's supercharged water. And in many ways, if you look at Pollack's work and the easy zone and the exposure to, thermophilic particulate, for lack of better words, that would then translate into cellular food when it was in situ, when it was placed in a new environment. It would be like the perfect feast, banquet for whatever was there, both through the clean water, through the biostimulants of the ions, the bioinoculant of the biology that had attached to those organic particles, just creating the perfect matrix to jumpstart or move soil succession at light speed.